Howdy, it's Big Dave. I'm your host today for Sitting on the Toilet.
Make a decision, and I can see what the right thing to do is. No.
That's a no.
Yeah,
Okay, let's do it. Come on.
Okay.
Howdy, welcome to another episode with, we'll just throw the internet on this one. Well, we'll be looking at this YouTube channel I found. The name of it is Lynn McGonnell. It's some kind of mental healing type stuff. This one in particular, the title of the video is you have the Angelic Initiative, episode 1008, Neo-Nazi Era. There's really not much I can say about this video before we go into it.
That's true.
Because it's pretty much, alright, this is all I'll say about it. I'm pretty sure it's some kind of cult thing.
I don't hear the arguers talking out loud anymore.
And I'll just let y'all start watching it and we'll discuss it as we go. So I want to know what kind of movements you'd say these people are making. It kind of looks like the one on the older lady. It looks like she's kind of brushing a cat that's on her head. And the younger one, it looks like she's doing some stretches before she goes on her morning run.
From the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as the souls are living by the many search for truth rules already given to the search for truth community by wiser minds above all of us, and we invite all souls to look up, to recall that
So for example, child souls, Team Awakening is working to rescue souls of the dead children from the even deeper, denser dimensions. These souls pass through the host bodies at the level of Earth, and it's environs on their way to the light. So once again, even more questions are opened. You have the Wizard. The Wizard is a long-standing planetary consciousness for Ground Zero planet Earth. However, he is no longer able to survive in the contamination of Ground Zero. And you have some more that goes on. Basically a bunch of mumbo-jumbo. A lot of what the video is about is like overpopulation and how people pollute the world. And stuff like that. So a lot of times when they're saying failed zone, contaminated zone, I think they're going something like that. I don't know what the dead children's about. And then I was watching, and the lady on the left, she really don't do much talking, so I did a little clip. I didn't watch the whole thing because it's 18 minutes long, but so here's, if you watch 12 minutes of the video, here's everything the girl on the left says, and later on we actually get a decent bit out of her. We're gonna watch that and see what happens. But for the most part, for the first 11 minutes, this is what you get out of her.
Howdy, it's Big Dave.
That's true. I hear that presence. That's true.
We like easily.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Saying
Yeah,
that
I
it
hear
would
that.
be billion.
Yeah, that's true.
That we're just
that's
having a hard
true.
time coming.
That's true. That's true.
And in order
That's true.
to get
That's true.
fee
That's
or
what they're talking
action,
about. That's true.
and
That's
it just
true.
being
That's true.
looked
That's true. That's true.
and
That's true.
And-
That's true.
and compare them to,
That's true.
we could call it a West system.
That's true. Oh, that's true. That's true. That's right. I don't hear the arguers talking out loud anymore.
No, I feel
Yeah, that's
I
true.
did
That's true. That's true. That's true.
And what bothers me is, I mean, these ideas, this sounds like a whole kind of ideology, and having this woman preach it while you have this girl, who I think is the daughter, It's confirmed. Just go in the background, going, yeah, that's true. Every, sentence she says, it almost it's like they're trying to hypnotize you and trick your mind into thinking, to believe their bullshit. That's just a little trick they have up their sleeve. They read that on some book from, the 1950s, that if you say true in your videos for your commercials, people are more likely to believe you.
That's true.
And societies are adamantly looking in the wrong direction. They have turned their backs on that which is what the situation actually calls for. And we can hear arguing in it's an arguing tone, and they're saying, what do you mean by that? But it's an arguing tone.
I hear that presence.
Not being so poisonous, letting the mosquitoes flourish so that the birds can flourish, so that the mammals can flourish, so that all life can flourish.
That's true.
Or just having fewer of us so that we can live in our destructive way that we so love, and the collective still survive.
So that was basically her comment to the haters. She's basically saying, the people who don't believe her, they're saying, what are you talking about?
That?
And it's almost like she gives them credit, yeah, they have arguments, but the way they're complaining to me, they're coming up to me in a very argumental tone. What other fucking kind of tone you supposed to have if you're having an argument? So she pretty much just deflects all the hate right there.
Well, we can just take an example of this easily observable dimension planet combo pack, Ground Zero planet Earth, and this dimension planet combo pack has been stolen by humans. Humanity has already killed off more than 50% of all other life forms. Gentler to simply reduce the numbers back to that which is sustainable, and probably it's 500 million, because there's disagreement over 500 million or 2 billion.
Yeah, that's true.
She really pushes this idea that we need less people on this earth. And I thought she'd at least be focusing on the polluting and that we should be caring for the earth. But she really hits there's just too many people. So she's calling for 500 million people on earth, saying that's a sustainable number. Right now there's 600 million. There's about 7,700 million people on earth right now. So you're talking a big decrease in the population. And I just don't see how that's fair to say. I mean, survival of the fittest at the end of the day. Yeah, we need to protect our earth, but how she was saying earlier about letting the mosquitoes thrive and all that, there's going to be some natural selection. Humans aren't the only things that cause animals to go extinct. So I thought they were going to mostly focus on that first part, but then they moved on to this.
So these industrialized societies have somehow become cool, and bizarrely there's this life extension philosophy or action that has been adopted as the quote right thing to do here. And we have here in Florida just this little farming community we live inside. It's a very small community
where they focus more on keeping the elderly alive, especially whenever they're admitted into the hospital. They aren't able to give consent because of their illness, they're sick. And she's talking about just pulling the plug on them and how it's not right that you can admit someone in the hospital without their consent.
That's true.
And we have a number of neighbors in this small community who are caring for elderly parents who are literally on respirators, which means that they're dead and they're just being kept alive by machines.
That's true.
And it's wrong morally, ethically, financially, and it's cool.
That's true.
But there's so many things that can happen to you where you would need to go to a hospital where you wouldn't be able to give consent, where they would need to help you. And there's a lot of, like, even if you're not unconscious, if you're real sick with the flu, a lot, like, especially if you're elderly, you can be very discombobulated, and it can be real confusing, but you can be perfectly healed and nursed back to health. In the hospital, you just need that help, and your family's going to have to admit you and give the permission for that, because we live in the 21st century and we have modern day cures.
That's true.
And in order to do that, of course, we have to give women rights over their bodies and over their reproduction. In industrialized cultures of this dimension planet combo pack, in this species that has stolen the dimension, and we understand that this is a test planet, and we understand that might be a valid way to go about running a test
two
planet.
sentences that made sense, and as soon as like her
But now that humans have
cyborg
stolen the
daughter
planet,
sneezed,
and that everybody still follows what's
and
cool
the
in
fucking sneezing is a
industrialized
common signal
cultures
of
of
energy shift, and
this
she just starts
dimension
going
planet
cuckoo
combo
mode.
pack in cultures of
Talking
humans
about
in
combo packs.
Africa and other places that are not industrialized, and see how they're wearing prefab clothing just as if they shopped at Target.
That's true.
In
I don't think that girl
industrialized
slept for days.
cultures of this
It looks like
dimension
she's forcing her
planet
eyes
combo
open,
pack,
moving around
in
just to
this
stay awake.
species.
I wonder what the thinking is around these videos. I wonder if it's just a complete scam. Because you can go get classes from them. You can buy a book from her. The classes are usually, from what I saw, anywhere from $250 to $500. So it's not like chump change. It's a decent bit. Her book's only like $11, so that's reasonable.
Pictures
And
of
I just
humans
find this
in
part funny where
Africa
she
and other
goes on.
places that are not industrialized, and see how they're wearing prefab clothing just as if they shopped at Target.
That's true.
Which I don't understand why this has anything to do with her point, because I think what she's talking about, pictures of people in Africa with like donated clothing, and it looks like a lot of like out of style stuff, but it's like very like, it looks out of place. So here we have a picture of people picking out like some clothing that was like donated to them, and what's wrong with wearing clothes that looks like they got them at Target? And it's better than wearing some shirts with holes in them and pants with holes in them.
So here we are, faced with this interesting opportunity to get a society to completely turn around. We as a culture, this collective, this observable human society is facing backwards. This is exactly opposite of what the situation calls for.
That's true.
When we're overpopulated as a species, what's called for is to let people die. When their bodies are saying it's time to go, to let them go and not be weird about it. And
That's
just say,
true.
okay, and that's it. Dead. And now off you go. On to the next stage of the adventure, and I'll be there one day. Dead.
See, and she has this big grasp as like, when it's your time to die, die. If you're like 80, 90 years old, you're a vegetable in bed, you can't talk, you can't eat, you can't go to the bathroom, just pull the plug. I understand that, but then she was rambling on about people, taking people into like the hospitals, and like without the family being able to give consent. How do you know how serious the illness is until they are assessed by a doctor? Because it could be something very curable, very treatable, and they could be perfectly fine and healthy. You don't know how damaging it is until you take them in.
I don't hear the arguers talking out loud anymore.
No, but I feel arguing in the belly. I feel
Yeah, that's
a
true.
disagreement, an
She can
angry,
sense
hot
people
disagreement.
disliking
That's
this video.
true.
There is this other
And it keeps
phenomenon
popping up
that
in
we
this
have
BS.
observed.
The microphone
that
shifts to yet another
when
higher dimension
Somebody
speaker.
starts to say
I think
something
that just means
that's
the microwave,
unpopular,
the microphone
that it's viewed as
shifted position.
wrong.
So out of that whole thing, this is like the most her daughter says.
What someone is talking about is how there were all these messages being sent in, and in this filming, but also earlier, about the Nazi era and Nazism, and how we're replaying that on a really big scale by murdering planet Earth. and they're talking about how the planetary consciousness for planet Earth currently in this time is Angela Merkel. And they're talking about how Angela Merkel is the current leader of Germany, and they're talking about karma and karmic cycles,
And how she's trying to right the wrongs.
and how she's trying to right the wrong.
So it was basically just a bunch of nonsense rants. I tried to listen to them and make sense of it best I can. It was hard to even tell what side they were on with the Nazis and with Merkel. At first I thought they were calling her a Nazi and were going against her, acting like she's like the new leader of the Third Reich, but then they were calling for people to donate to her. I don't know what these people are doing, but they have a nice yard, they have a healthy dog. You know, God bless them. Well, thanks for watching. This has been another episode with Big Dave. It's been a pleasure to be your host. Thank you for watching. Thank you for getting this far, too. Hit that like, subscribe, and tune into next time. You see, the world is only as big as you want it to be. You just need to find the divide of the plane and congregate in between. True. When you find it, we, being 7 billion, could never fit in the divide.
Dad.